Welcome to the Cheating Story Lab. I used to believe that trust was forged through numerous shared memories, sleepless nights establishing our business, lazy Sunday mornings in bed, discussions about the family we would raise together. Now I understand that trust can be a project with a predetermined demolition date. My name is Austin, and the day I received a text informing me of the birth of my son was also the day I discovered he wasn't biologically mine. This is how I transformed that moment of despair into the most strategically triumphant event in my life. The text arrived at 6:47 a.m. while I was in a hotel room in Denver, 3 states distant from home for a professional meeting. My phone vibrated on the bedside table, and I reached for it with the dazed disorientation that comes from being awakened prematurely. The message was from Brooke, my wife of 4 years. "It's a boy. He matches you perfectly, and I'm eager for you to meet him. However, our baby isn't due for another fortnight. Despite planning my conference schedule to be back by the 15th, here I am, miles away at a marketing summit, while Brooke is in labor giving birth to our son. All this time I thought first babies usually come late according to the doctor. Yet I find myself missing the delivery of our child." Despite her insistence and practically pushing me out the door, emphasizing the conference's significance for our business, networking opportunities, and her well-being with her mother around, I had felt guilty about leaving. Now, reading this message in the dim light of dawn, my feelings are far from guilt. They are something else entirely. Instead, I powered up my laptop and accessed the secret cloud drive I had been managing for 4 months, one Brooke was unaware of. Inside were 247 documents, 18 hours of voice recordings, and enough incriminating evidence to not only dismantle my marriage, but expose the elaborate fraud scheme that both my wife and business partner had been concealing from me. The initial doubt began subtly, as such suspicions often do. 3 months into Brooke's pregnancy, I noticed a $12,000 decrease in our shared savings account. When I questioned Brooke about it, she claimed the money was for nursery furniture and baby expenses. Reasonable enough, except that the nursery remained unchanged from its initial setup during the first trimester, and she couldn't provide any receipts to validate approximately $12,000 in additional expenditures. Given my background as a financial analyst, numbers are my vernacular, and these figures didn't align with reality, so I started scrutinizing matters more closely than before. I observed Brooke placing her phone face down frequently on various surfaces and seemed more focused on privacy settings. Her unusual behavior in taking her device into the bathroom during showers, should her mother call unexpectedly, was also noticed. Her evasiveness about her prenatal appointments, scheduling them on my busy days, suggested she did not want me present. The turning point, however, seemed to be an incident that initially appeared accidental. I was working late in our shared office where Brooke and I had established our marketing consultancy. I left my water bottle in the conference room and went back to retrieve it around 10 p.m. It was then that I heard voices from Brooke's private office, both belonging to her and Felix, my business partner of 3 years, who served as best man at our wedding. The door was closed but not fully latched, and through the gap I could see them sitting close together on the couch where we usually met with clients. I didn't catch all the details, but I heard enough to worry me. Felix mentioned something about post-baby arrangements and claimed he wouldn't suspect the timing. Brooke chuckled, not her usual public laugh, but a private one I thought was solely for me, and whispered something indistinct that included insurance policy. I remained frozen in that dim hallway for roughly 30 seconds with my hand on the conference room doorknob. Then I quietly retreated, retrieved my water bottle, and stealthily exited the building. However, I didn't go home. Instead, I went to a 24-hour office supply store, bought a voice-activated recording device, and returned to the office at 2 a.m. to install it above Brooke's couch in the air vent. That was in August. By November, I had amassed 4 months of recordings. By December, I sought advice from 3 different lawyers. By January, I shifted half our business assets into a separate account, complete with supporting documents that demonstrated they were funds I'd deposited prior to our marriage. In February, when Brooke sent me an exuberant message regarding our newly born son, I was already in Barrett Coleman's office, a divorce attorney specializing in fraud cases, formulating a legal plan to safeguard everything I had worked for. I responded to her text with 5 words, "I'll be home tomorrow." Then I contacted Barrett and instructed him to file the papers. The journey home felt like traversing a passage where time seemed to function abnormally. I continually checked my phone, hoping against hope that Brooke would call, sensing in some way that the harmonious family gathering she had been waiting for would never materialize. However, my phone remained silent except for a few congratulatory messages from friends and relatives who seemed to have learned of the news. I chose not to respond to any of them. At the hospital, I found Brooke in a private room, the baby sleeping in a bassinet near her bed. She appeared worn out yet stunning, and as though she were a total stranger. Brooke beamed upon my arrival, recounting her labor tale at once. She described her water breaking at 3 in the morning, the car ride to the hospital, the challenging yet endurable labor, and the birth of a healthy 6-pound, 11-ounce baby. I listened, even cradling the child briefly. The small, red-faced bundle meant to be my son, stunning for his innocence amidst the impending calamity. After 30 seconds, I handed him back, asking Brooke for a private conversation regarding something crucial. "Can it wait?" she queried, readjusting the baby. "I'm tired and I want to savor this moment with you," I replied negatively. "It cannot." Her smile disappeared as she inquired about my well-being, sensing my odd behavior. I retrieved my phone, revealing a prepared folder from the flight, and continued. I faced her and hit play on the initial audio file, a September discussion between her and Felix detailing their elaborate plan. Her voice was unmistakable. "Upon the baby's birth, and if Austin's name is on the birth certificate, we can use his parental duty. Even if he later learns the truth, he'll be legally bound to child support. And with the business structured as it is, he can't oust you without impacting the baby's financial well-being," Felix suggested. "And by then we'll have moved enough funds from our joint accounts that restarting will be straightforward. The rental properties are already in my name." He carelessly signed those partnership documents without reading them, trusting me too much. Rook's complexion paled. The baby whined, but she seemed oblivious. "Where did you get this?" she whispered. "From your office," I replied evenly. "I've been recording our conversations since August. For 4 months, I've accumulated evidence regarding your embezzlement, undisclosed property transactions, and jovial discussions about paternity matters with Felix. I know it all, Brooke, for months now." She attempted to regain control, altering her strategy as one might do when caught. Yet still, she sought to manipulate the situation. "Austin, that recording is misleading. Felix and I were merely discussing a hypothetical situation for one of our clients in marketing consulting. Occasionally, we simulate challenging dialogues to prepare ourselves." "Enough," I interrupted, raising my hand. "I'm not here to debate or listen to excuses. I've come to inform you about the future. I've already filed for divorce, and you will receive the papers tomorrow morning. Additionally," I continued, "I have also filed for an emergency paternity test which will be administered before your discharge from this hospital. The court order has been approved." Brooke's eyes grew wide. "That's impossible. He's your son. You're listed as his birth mother." "I haven't signed the birth certificate yet," I clarified. "I gave birth 6 hours ago. The paperwork hasn't been finalized, and until the DNA test confirms our assumptions, my name won't be on any legal document related to this child." "Austin, please," she sobbed, the baby wriggling in her arms, starting to cry. "We can resolve this. Whatever you think is happening, we can find a solution." "You're correct," I responded. "We can solve this. The divorce will grant you access to my earnings, the paternity test will validate your claim of fatherhood, and the fraud charges I'm filing against both you and Felix will prevent you from doing this to anyone else in the future." Her expression shifted from begging to something more resilient. "You're making a mistake. The business is jointly owned. Those rental properties aren't under your name," I concluded. "In the documents fabricated by your attorney, Felix falsely claimed his name to deceive law enforcement. He manipulated me into transferring property rights with doctored appraisal reports, which is criminal fraud, Brooke, not a civil dispute. You were his accomplice, and I have proof." A nurse intervened as the baby cried, sensing the tension between us. She asked if everything was all right or if the baby needed something. "The baby's fine," I said. "I was just leaving." Looking at Brooke one last time, I warned her, "A court officer will be here tomorrow at 9 a.m. with a paternity test kit. If you don't cooperate fully, you'll forfeit any opportunity to negotiate this situation. It's your decision." Leaving that hospital room without looking back, the DNA test results came in 3 days later, sent to both my lawyer and the court. The result, 0% chance it was my child. The genetic tests revealed no DNA link between this child and me, implying that every discussion Brooke and I had regarding our prospective family, each swallowed prenatal vitamin I observed her take, every joint planning session for the nursery we undertook together, were all part of a carefully orchestrated act with a specific financial motivation. Barrett promptly filed an emergency motion to temporarily halt access to all shared accounts and assets, pending the investigation into the fraud allegations. Within 48 hours, forensic accountants were scrutinizing every transaction dating back 2 years from our business and personal accounts. Their findings were near impressive in their intricate design. Felix and Brooke had been executing a meticulous scheme to channel business income into shell companies they'd established, LLCs whose names seemed to be client accounts or vendor payments. Over a period of 18 months, they shifted approximately $200,000 from our company into accounts I hadn't authorized. Properties we assumed were jointly owned for business purposes had been surreptitiously transferred to Felix's exclusive control via a sequence of quitclaim deeds, forged with my signature. The scheme was ingeniously malicious. Seduce Brooke into having a child fathered by Felix instead of me, then use the baby as a tool to bind me in the business partnership while they drained funds. Even if I eventually uncovered the infidelity, the paternity deception would make departure financially ruinous. It'd cover obligations, complicated business ties, messes. The properties were meticulously arranged to keep me funding their system perpetually. However, they made a crucial blunder. They underestimated how thoroughly I would archive everything. My business education had instilled paranoia about records, backups, trails of evidence. Every contract I signed was scanned and saved. Every property document, every bank statement, every email thread concerning business decisions were all backed up in multiple locations. Upon comparing my records to the documents alleged by Felix and Brooke, clear inconsistencies emerged that couldn't be disputed. Our divorce progressed swiftly through the judicial system, hastened by Brooke's inability to challenge the presented evidence. Her attorney attempted to plead for spousal support based on our 4-year union and her pregnancy, but this claim crumbled when my lawyer played the audio recordings in the judge's chambers. The demand for spousal support was quickly dismissed. The criminal proceedings took more time. Felix was apprehended in March over accusations of fraud, forgery, and embezzlement. Brooke was implicated as an accomplice. The prosecution had the paper trail, the recordings and testimonies from business clients confirming that the shell companies had not delivered services commensurate with their payments. The case was solid. I attended the preliminary hearing in April, watching from the courtroom gallery while Judge Foster examined the evidence. Felix adorned a $3,000 suit, a fact I grimly acknowledged as his ill-gotten gain from our joint business. Beside him at the defense table, Brooke appeared petite, presumably with their child elsewhere outside the court, perhaps with its grandmother. The prosecutor commenced by presenting financial records, outlining the sequence of transactions and falsified signatures. Following this, she played select audio recordings, only those most incriminating. The courtroom hushed, save for the voices of Felix and Brooke emanating from the speakers with unyielding clarity. We merely needed to maintain his involvement for another year. Once the baby arrives, he'll be emotionally tied regardless of any suspicions, Felix said, to which Brooks chuckled in response. Legally, he can't abandon child support obligations even if he desires to. 1. The earnings from the business are locked up permanently, drained by the time he learns to break free. Judge Foster paused the recording, her face revealing a mix of distaste and professional detachment as she looked at Felix and Brooke. Whispers between lawyers could be heard at the bench, followed by their return. Felix's lawyer then asked for a recess to discuss plea negotiations. The judge agreed, and outside the courtroom, Barrett pulled me aside. "They'll be entering a plea," he said. "Felix faces 3 to 5 years if he fully cooperates. Brooke may get 2 years and probation if she testifies about the business fraud. As for the money, it will be part of the plea agreement. They'll be legally bound to repay every cent with penalties included. Though it won't happen right away, you'll receive it eventually. The unlawful transfer of company assets is being rectified via civil court proceedings. You'll continue to hold sole ownership of the firm and all rightful possessions. About the baby, it isn't your concern, Austin. The paternity test was conclusive, implying no legal or financial responsibility towards that child for you. Felix's name will appear on the birth certificate, and he'll bear the burden of child support payments, albeit challenging given his prison situation. However, that's their challenge to manage, not yours. The plea bargain was finalized in May. Felix admitted guilt to fraud and embezzlement, earning a 4-year imprisonment with eligibility for parole after 2.5 years. Brooke confessed to conspiracy and fraud, receiving a sentence of 18 months in county jail and 3 years of probation. They were both obligated to pay a total of $240,000, which included restitution, legal fees, and penalties that were owed to me. I didn't attend the sentencing hearing as I had already moved forward in all aspects that truly mattered. By June, I had reorganized the business into a sole proprietorship, hired new employees to fill roles previously held by Felix, and secured contracts with 3 major clients we had long pursued. The marketing consultancy not only survived, but prospered without the 2 individuals who were stealing from it. I sold the house that Brooke and I shared and bought a smaller home in a neighborhood I've always admired, but she deemed too distant from her mother's residence. I adopted a rescue dog, a German Shepherd mix named Denver, symbolizing the city where everything became clear. I began regularly attending the gym not for vengeful body motivation, but because I finally had the time and mental peace for myself. Occasionally, individuals inquire if I harbor anger, feel betrayed, or struggle with trust issues. The reality is more intricate than any straightforward response. Indeed, I was distraught when I read Brooke's text message in the hotel room in Denver. Certainly, there were nights in the ensuing months where I grappled, sleepless, over every moment of our relationship, attempting to discern where genuine Brooke concluded and the performance began. However, I chose not to invest energy into anger. Belief in being wronged necessitates the conviction that one deserved something other than what was given, while trust issues stem from fear of recurrence. Currently, I experience neither of these emotions. Instead, I find myself enveloped by clarity. I discovered that proof is stronger than instinct. I learned that people reveal their true selves if you focus on their actions instead of their words. Lastly, I comprehend that love devoid of integrity is merely a deceit adorned with better illumination. I discovered that the most potent retaliation isn't emotional ruin, but systematic justice. When Brooke texted me, "It's a boy, he looks just like you," she believed she was unveiling the last piece of her and Felix's flawless strategy. She assumed I would rush home, swept away by paternal feelings, ready to affix my signature on a birth certificate that would legally entangle me in their scheme for eternity. What she failed to realize was that I had already foreseen the conclusion. She had already written her anticipated response. When I returned with the DNA match of 000%, I wasn't sabotaging her plot. Rather, I was merely demonstrating that I had known the truth for longer than she could conceal it. Then I blocked her number and advanced into the life I was destined to live all along. The business is currently worth more than ever with Felix. The house I purchased is the first place I've ever lived in that truly feels like my own. Dog Denver is hopeless at fetch but skilled in prompting walks. In the mornings when I awaken in that residence, leading that life, I don't ponder over Brooke or Felix or the child that was not mine. Instead, my thoughts drift to the realization that I constructed something genuine from something fabricated. My mind dwells on how records preserved everything I had strived for. I reflect on how only my finest self manifested once I ceased trusting those who had demonstrated their unreliability. On rare occasions, I consider the text message bears a striking resemblance to you. She was correct in a way she never intended. The child bore a likeness to me in aspects that truly mattered. Because I learned to scrutinize circumstances carefully, document diligently, and act resolutely, I became the person who is not devastated by deception, but uses it as fuel for rebuilding. This is the image I present now. It was a more sincere representation compared to anything witnessed throughout our 4-year marriage.